Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Dorn. I'm a local Milwaukee artist. I do painting, sculpture, drawing, and installation. And today I wanted to introduce you to Lois May Jones, who's an artist associated with the Harlem Renaissance and somebody that I came across and found fascinating. And here is Lois. She is a designer and a painter, and probably, well, she's best known for both. In her painting, she does portraits. And as a designer, she creates textile designs, or did create textile designs. And I don't know if you can see it here, but she has a little kitten on her shoulder. And I had to pick this photo because I am a huge cat person. So let's take a look at some of her designs. So here we have one, and what I want you to focus on are the colors. So the different colors that she used variations of, so if you look at the brown, you can see variations of that brown where it gets a little bit lighter and darker in some points. She also used variations of blue. So we have some light blue, some dark blue, but she did keep a limited color palette. And by that, I mean, it's not every color that she could have chosen from her watercolor box. She kept it to just a few. And also, as we move through these, look at the repeated shapes. And here's another one. You can tell that she really focused on nature, but not necessarily a realistic portrait of nature. She takes the forms she finds and adds her own imagination to them. And this is something that I will want you to do. But look at how many times she repeated the different forms. So if you look at the circles, maybe you can count up the circles. I didn't do that, so I'm not sure. I'm going to guess maybe 10. And again, here we have another textile design. So textile means on cloth. And again, look at the limited color palette. So not a huge number of colors, but there is variation here. And often she did these designs in watercolor, which is what we can use. You can also use colored pencil. And I wanted to show you this one because I found this one on a website where they pulled out the colors for us to look at. And you'll notice here that they pulled out 5 colors. And that is one thing that we are going to do. We're going to use 5 colors. Now there will be some variation. Again, if you look at the blue here, you can see some darker blue, some lighter blue. Let's see, also with the brown and the yellow, there's a little bit of change in some of the yellows, but we'll get that quite naturally with watercolor. Okay, so the very first thing you're going to do is called a mood board. And designers use this as a way to think about their designs before they start. So there's some pre-planning involved. And what you see here is that I have 4 shapes drawn out. So you can see a cloud here, my version of a cloud. You can see something that maybe resembles a sun, but it's not really a sun. I have a leaf. And then I have just a little something here that I totally made up from my imagination to bring in a line or a way to kind of move about my, my design. Now, when I was walking the other day, I found this leaf, and I am going to add a version of this leaf. It's not going to look exactly like the leaf, because I don't want it to. I want it to look a little different, but I'm definitely going to take parts of the leaf and draw it on my mood board here. Now this can just be a regular piece of paper that you're doing this on. And I'm going to include the stem, I think. There we go. So I have 5 objects, 5 individual drawings on my mood board. Also, what you're going to want to add to your mood board, and I did this in colored pencil, is the 5 different colors that you are going to use. You're going to have 5 objects and 5 different colors, and that's it. Okay? So we're going to keep it to the number 5 for right now. So you will take some time to complete your mood board. Think about things from nature. Think about things that you can see outside, or maybe a plant that you might have in your house. You can also think about any images that you've seen on websites. Maybe you've done some investigation into the tropics. That's always really so many interesting plants there. And one of the things that Lois did was she used inspiration from the Caribbean in her colors, her nice bright colors, and also in her patterns. So in some of the patterns that she drew out, you can see influences of the Caribbean and also Africa. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you are going to lay out your pattern. And so you are going to use each of those 5 objects that you drew, and you are going to draw each one at least 3 times, okay? So this is my start. You'll notice that I have that smaller leaf 3 times. I have my kind of sunburst 3 times. And I have my clouds 3 times. And I have 1 lone leaf. So I'm going to add 2 leaves, and then I'm going to add my line, if you remember my line. So I'm going to look at my pattern here. I'm going to add 2 more leaves here, I think. And one thing about the pattern is you want to remember to turn your paper around, because we want it to go off the page, beyond the page. So I'm going to add a leaf here that goes off the page, and it's only going to be a partial leaf. So your objects don't have to be complete. They can, if they go off the page, maybe it's only half of the leaf. You'll notice I also touched the point of the leaf to one of my clouds. So you're going to want to stack a few things and have them touch each other as well. Oh, let's see. Where else do I want to put a leaf? I'm going to put just a teeny part of my leaf up here. It's just going to be 1 part of the leaf. Now you notice that I never used the stem. It just didn't work out in this case, and that's okay. Now the other thing I'm going to use, if you remember seeing my line here, I'm going to bring that throughout. Now you want to be sure to use the entire page, go off the page. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to take a look at my line. It does not have to be a perfect replication, because you're going to, what I want this to do is to move about, this line, to move about and help our eye move through the design. So we're pretending this piece of paper is going to be turned into a textile. I think another great place would be down here to put that line. I'm going to change it a little bit. So that's fitting in nicely there. And then I want one line. Yes, I'm going to start my line over here. It's going to run into the sunburst or starburst. It's going to come through the cloud, oh, right about here. And I think it's going to do a little hook this way. Let's just do a point right there. All right, so I have my design complete. I've used everything 3 times. I used my 5 objects at least 3 times. And I've gone off the page and I've used the entire page, okay? You want to fill up the space. There will be some background, but we want a nice full space. So then I'm going to move on to color. And I'm going to use watercolor for this, but you could also use colored pencil. And I have, let's see, let me make sure that I have everything on here 3 times. I have it all drawn out, so I didn't start my watercolor until I had my drawing complete. And then what I decided was that every cloud would be purple, okay? And the best, well, one way to do watercolor, I won't say the best because there are multiple ways, is to lay down a little bit of clear water, so you can't even see that, but just a little bit of clear water, not a lot, just to get the paper a little bit wet. I'm going to do my whole cloud here, but not the leaf that's in the center. And I'm going to come back in with just a little bit of purple, kind of dabbed it into, I'm going to bring this in a little bit so you can see it. I'm just dabbing a little bit here. There we go. And then you'll see that the color starts to move around a little bit on its own, but it's only going to where the water is. And you'll see one of the really cool things about watercolor is that I get a nice variation of this purple. And at some point, I'm going to go back to my purple. I may even need a little bit more water, we'll see. I'm going to add just a little bit of water. And at that time, I added a little bit of water onto my palette, which is where my watercolors are. A teeny tiny bit. You don't want a lot of water on your watercolors. Add a little bit more water to my paper here to get the watercolor flowing about. Go back in. It's drying a little bit on me. Do a little bit more here. So you might have noticed that was almost too much water there. I bordered on too much water. So now don't be too worried. These don't have to be absolutely perfect, because one of the things that you can do after you are done is come in with a little bit of colored pencil and do some outlining or add a few details. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to my leaf, this leaf right here, the smaller leaf. I'm going to look at my color palette and decide what color do I want that leaf to be. I only have 5 choices. And I think that I am going to make the leaf orange. So I'm gonna switch my brush around, get the purple out of it. And I'm gonna come in here and get this leaf wet. Just a little wet. I'm gonna come into my orange. Oh, and look at that. Because there's some water in my purple, the orange is coming out of it a little bit. That's pretty cool. Okay, I want just a little bit darker orange in there. And then I'm going to come up and do this one where it's touching orange. Getting a little water down there. And I am going to just do a teeny bit of orange in here. And I'm going to keep it, that little orange. I just want I want it to be light where it touches the other orange. But it can be a bit darker down near the stem. And then I'm going to come in and do this one. This is going to be a super light orange. So remember, you can vary the color. You just can't have like 10 colors, okay? 10 different colors. There we go. And then I'm going to do a little bit of the background because there's one thing I wanted to talk about, and that's if you have some bigger brushes, the background might be a good place to do those bigger brushes. And I'm going to do my background a blue. There we go. Got some blue flowing around. So again, you can get the background wet. And I can come back in and do, like, if there's any detail, like in between my starburst there, I can come back in and do that with the smaller brush. But I definitely want you, if you have some bigger brushes available, to think about or to use the bigger brushes. When you can. You'll want to be a little careful because it's kind of easy with the bigger brush to knock into one of your other pieces. Get a little bit more blue in there. And then I will just keep going here. I will do my background. I will come in and do my lines. Let me do a line for you because I decided that my line is going to be black. I'm going to do this down here. I'm getting a little water on there. So I wanted to tell you a little story about Lois May Jones. And she was going past a store window where she saw all of her textile designs. So if you think about, like, if you were going past Joanne Fabrics or going through Walmart and you saw all the bolts of fabric, that's what she saw in this window. And she noticed that the company that she sold the design to, their name was on the fabric, right? Because they own it now. They purchased it from her. And she wasn't all that happy with not having her name included. And she felt that she should always, 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 always get get acknowledged for her contributions in art and design. So this is kind of what started her moving into fine art and doing more portraiture, because she was adamant, very strong about always having her name on the work that she did. So this is to encourage you to make sure that you always put your name on your work so that people know who did it and they can tell you how fabulous it is. And like I said, I'll keep going with this until all of my objects are painted in and my whole background is painted. And one thing about as you move through doing your objects, remember they don't have to be the color that they appear in nature. They can be a different color. So these leaves here, the big ones, are going to be yellow. And remember that mine was kind of an orangey, and during the summer it would be green. But I wanted those to really stand out, so I decided that they would be yellow. And you will keep going till your whole, everything on your page has been painted or colored in. And then when it dries, you can come back in and do a little bit of work with colored pencils, maybe adding some detail. Let's see, I can show you really quick on this dry cloud here that I could come in with my colored pencil and put an outline around it if I wanted to. Okay, but you have to make sure it's dry. Otherwise the paper will get a little fuzzy looking. And when you get everything painted and you went in and did whatever little touch-ups or details, you will have created a textile design just like Lois did. She used watercolors and colored pencils.